All right, so today we're diving into this GAEM network.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty excited to kind of dig into this with you because I know you've been following them for a while now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They've been popping up everywhere, and I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, it's I mean, there's a lot of hype around it, it seems like.
Yeah.
So we'll see if they live up to the hype, but it seems like they're trying to do something really unique by, blending these micro-incubators
Right.
with collaborative ecosystems. And, I'm always a little bit, I love the idea of collaboration,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm always a little bit wary of, the I mean, I've been in networking groups before, and it's like,
Yeah.
is this actually going to work? Is it going to be more trouble than it's worth?
Yeah. Is it just a popularity contest?
Right.
Yeah. And I think what's interesting here with GAEM is they're not just saying, hey, we're going to throw you in a room with a bunch of people.
Yeah.
They're actually being really intentional about how they're structuring
Hmm.
this collaborative process. And that's what makes it so intriguing to me.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to ask you about, with this whole cluster model they have. Like,
Yeah.
my initial reaction was you're putting 5 people together.
Yeah.
Like, I can only imagine the personality clashes that could happen.
Well,
But when you dig a little bit deeper, it's like, oh, they're actually thinking about the skill sets
yeah.
you need within a group
Yeah.
to really make something work.
Yeah. They're not just throwing random people together.
Yeah.
It's about creating these strategically formed teams where each member brings a unique skill set to the table. And when you look at it that way, it starts to make a lot more sense.
Well, yeah, like give me an example. Like, how would this work, like, say, with a real estate?
Sure. Yeah, so imagine a real estate cluster. You could have a marketer,
Okay.
a finance expert, someone with a legal background, a tech specialist, and a design guru.
Okay.
And suddenly, you've got all the ingredients you need
Right.
for a really successful real estate venture.
It's like that, old saying, like, 2 heads are better than one.
Absolutely.
But in this case, it's 5 heads.
It's exactly 5 heads with very specific expertise, all working towards a common goal.
Yeah, and that's where these pathways come in, right?
Yeah. So the pathways are like tailored journeys within a specific field, like real estate we just talked about. You have services entrepreneurship,
Okay.
and they basically act as a roadmap,
Right.
providing structure and guidance to help those clusters actually achieve their goals.
It's like a curriculum almost.
Yeah, think of it like a curriculum for success.
But tailored to their
Yeah, customized for that cluster
specific
and their industry.
needs. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so they're not just, throwing people together and saying, good luck, figure it out.
right, exactly. There's a method to the madness.
Yeah.
It's a system designed to actually maximize collaboration and produce real results.
Okay, so we've got the clusters, we've got the pathways.
Right.
But what about support?
Yeah.
Like besides a roadmap, do they actually get any like tangible
Yeah, that's a great question.
help?
That's where the keystones come in. And this is where it gets really exciting because GAEM Network provides these keystones, which are tools and resources to each cluster.
Okay.
And they're not messing around. I mean, we're talking access to a marketplace
Oh, wow.
where they can find collaborators, clients, even funding opportunities.
Interesting.
There's an AI assistant that helps with research scheduling all those tasks you don't want to be doing.
Oh, that's cool.
And maybe most importantly, there's this really supportive community of mentors and advisors
Oh, nice.
that are there to offer guidance and expertise.
So they've really thought this through.
They have, and that's what's so impressive about GAEM Network.
Yeah.
It's not just about connecting people, it's about equipping them with everything they need to succeed.
Yeah, so you're almost making this sound like less of a networking platform and more like a full-fledged like entrepreneurial support system.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment.
Okay, so all of this sounds great in theory, but does it actually work?
Mhm.
Like what are people actually getting out of this?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
Well, from what I've seen, one of the biggest benefits is its ability to build your own team,
Okay.
but within this really supportive framework.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of going it alone, which can be really tough,
Yeah.
you've got this dedicated group of individuals all aligned with your vision and each with their unique strengths. It's like having this built-in think tank and support system.
Well, yeah, and I think that's the, the appeal for a lot of people is like they don't want to go it alone, but they also don't want to, go to these networking events where it's like,
It's all about who,
yeah,
you know?
right, exactly.
Yeah, and I think GAM is really trying to foster a culture of collaboration and shared success.
Okay.
It's not about competition. It's about leveraging everyone's strengths to achieve something bigger.
Yeah.
And for people who maybe don't have a fully formed idea yet,
Hmm.
there's this opportunity to partner with existing clusters
Oh,
and kind of contribute their skills to a growing venture.
okay.
So there's an entry point for
It's
everyone.
interesting. So you can build your own team, you can join a team. Or is this, can you actually come in, like take the reins of an existing business?
Yeah, you heard that right. GAEM provides access to pre-built businesses
Wow.
that are ready to be scaled.
So you could just step right in.
Imagine stepping into a leadership position with a brand that already has proven potential. That's a game changer for people who want to hit the ground running.
So that is really interesting, and I'm guessing that probably helps with the funding piece of it too.
Absolutely. Because building a business or even scaling one takes capital, and GAM has really thought about that.
Okay.
They facilitate connections with all sorts of investors, angel investors, group investors, even crowdfunding opportunities.
So they're like a connector
Yeah, they're like a matchmaker.
between the...
Yeah, connecting
Hmm.
visionaries with the resources
Yeah.
they need to make their dreams a reality.
Okay, so all this structure and all this support, does it ever feel like too much? You know what I mean?
That's a valid concern.
Like, do you lose that sense of autonomy, that freedom that a lot of entrepreneurs thrive on?
Yeah, and that's something I was curious about too, but from what I've observed, they've really struck a balance
Okay.
between structure and flexibility.
Okay.
The pathways provide guidance, but they don't dictate every step.
Right.
Clusters have the autonomy to make their own decisions, and the resources are there to support them, not to control them.
Okay, so it's about empowerment, not restriction.
Exactly.
Mm.
They're giving you the tools and the framework, but ultimately it's up to the clusters to decide how they want to use them.
So they're not trying to fit everyone into the same mold?
No, they're empowering entrepreneurs to embrace their unique vision
Yeah.
and to really leverage the GAEM system in a way that works best for them.
So it sounds like it's very personalized, even though there is this structure.
Right. It's about finding that sweet spot
Yeah.
between guidance and freedom.
Well, and it sounds like they really go above and beyond just the funding and the connections.
Yeah.
You mentioned those keystones before, right?
Yeah, the keystones include templates, mentorship programs, even specialized training. It's like this comprehensive support system designed to guide entrepreneurs through every stage of their journey.
It's like they've really thought of everything.
They've tried to anticipate every need and provide a solution.
Well, it makes me wonder about the people in GEM, like what are their stories?
Right.
Luckily, there's this podcast,
Oh, yeah.
so we can hear about that.
You're talking about GAEM Changers.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, their companion podcast.
Yeah.
It's a treasure trove of information and inspiration. I mean,
And I love hearing stories, of people achieving remarkable things. And, it's one thing to hear about the GAM system in theory,
right.
but I'm always like, okay, but show me the receipts. Show me what it actually looks like in action.
Exactly. And GAM Changers delivers on that front. They have interviews with cluster leaders, investors, entrepreneurs who are actually using this system
Wow.
to make things happen.
So it's like a behind-the-scenes look at how it all works.
It really is. It's like getting a backstage pass.
Okay, well, I'm definitely going to check that out. But I'm curious, what's the overall tone of the podcast like?
Yeah,
Is it more businessy and analytical?
it's a good mix.
Okay.
They definitely dive into the strategies,
Right.
the nuts and bolts of how GAEM works.
Yeah.
But they also do a great job of highlighting the personal stories,
Okay.
the journeys of the people involved.
Mm.
So you hear about their challenges, their wins, and how GAM has actually impacted their lives.
Well, that's what makes it relatable, right?
Exactly. It's not just about business. It's about people.
Yeah.
And that human element
Yeah.
is what makes these stories so compelling.
Well, and what are some of the things that listeners can expect to learn from tuning in?
You'll get some really great insights into how these clusters actually function in the real world,
Okay.
how they overcome hurdles, how they use those keystones that we talked about.
Right.
To achieve success, you'll hear from investors about what they look for in potential ventures
Oh, that's interesting.
and why they're so excited about this whole micro-incubator model. And you'll also get a glimpse into the wide range of industries and communities that GAEM is impacting.
Okay, so it's not just like a one-size-fits-all kind of thing.
Not at all. It's very diverse.
Yeah. Well, and I'm curious, do you have any favorite episode titles that come to mind?
Yeah, there's one that really stands out. It's called Clusters in Action, How Teams of 5 Create Exponential Growth.
Catchy title.
Yeah, and it really breaks down
Oh, nice.
how these clusters operate and what makes them so effective.
So that's a good one for understanding like the actual mechanics of it.
Absolutely.
I love the, real world examples.
Okay.
So do you have any other examples of episodes that maybe like highlight how GAM can be used in different contexts?
Yeah, definitely. So there's one called From Real Estate to Revolution,
Yeah.
John's story from France,
Okay.
where you hear from this guy who used to be a hotel manager, and he had this vision for sustainable tourism,
Oh, that's
but he
cool.
didn't know how to make it happen, and that's where GAM came in.
I love these, like, I was stuck and then I found GAEM and
Yeah.
then,
Total transformation
yeah.
stories. And then there's another one called the Concierge Connection, Mina's service network.
Okay.
And this one explores how local service providers are leveraging GAEM to completely reshape their communities.
Oh, wow. So it's not just like big businesses, it's also.
No, it's really applicable to anyone
Oh.
with a vision.
Well, you mentioned before that one of the things that GAM really emphasizes is this culture of shared success.
Right.
Does that come through in the podcast?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You hear it in the way the entrepreneurs talk about each other, the way they support each other, celebrate each other's wins.
Sounds like a real community.
Yeah, there's this real sense of camaraderie and shared purpose that you don't often find.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to hear that success doesn't always have to be this cutthroat thing.
It doesn't have to be a zero-sum game.
Yeah.
GAM is proving that.
Yeah. Now, with this whole concept of collective intelligence, leveraging the diverse skills and perspectives within a cluster.
Is there a risk of groupthink, where everybody starts thinking alike?
That's a great question, and it's something that GAM addresses head on. They really emphasize the importance of diversity, not just in terms of skills, but also backgrounds, perspectives, and life experiences.
So they're not just trying to create these echo chambers.
Not at all. In fact, they encourage clusters to actively seek out dissenting opinions and challenge each other's assumptions.
Okay, so they want people to think critically.
Exactly. It's about fostering a culture of healthy debate.
Okay, so it sounds like they've taken steps to mitigate that potential downside.
They have.
But with all this focus on structure and collaboration, does it ever feel a little too corporate?
That's an interesting question.
Like, does it lose some of that entrepreneurial spirit that drives innovation?
I don't think so. While they provide the framework and the resources, it's ultimately up to the clusters to decide how they want to operate.
Right.
They have the autonomy to be as creative and unconventional as they want.
So they're not trying to stifle that entrepreneurial spirit. No, in fact, I think they're trying to amplify it.
So it's more about empowering entrepreneurs than trying to control them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about providing the tools and the support to allow them to flourish
Yeah.
in their own way.
Okay, well, that makes me even more excited to check out this podcast.
Yeah, you love it.
Because it sounds like they're really doing something different here.
They are.
And it's not just about building businesses, it's about building a better future.
Yeah, it's about creating a new paradigm for entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
one that's based on collaboration, community, and positive impact.
And the GAEM Changers podcast really showcases that vision, right?
It does. It highlights those individuals who are achieving personal success,
Yeah.
but who are also contributing to something much larger,
Yeah.
creating positive change in their communities and in the world.
Okay. I can't wait to hear those stories.
Me too.
Okay, so let's talk about some of those stories from GAEM Changers.
Yeah.
You've talked about the structure and the support, but now I want to hear about those people who are actually making this thing work.
Absolutely.
What are some of the stories that really exemplify the power of this network?
Well, we talked about John from France earlier.
Yeah.
His story is featured in that From Real Estate to Revolution episode.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a perfect example of GAM's impact. He started as a hotel manager
Right.
with this big dream for sustainable tourism.
Yeah, and feeling kind of stuck,
Yeah, totally.
Like, how do I actually make this happen?
He had the passion.
Right.
He had the vision.
Yeah.
But he didn't have the pathway.
Right.
And that's where GM came in. He realized he couldn't do it alone.
Mm-hmm.
So he built this team with diverse skills, marketing, finance, sustainability expertise, all aligned with his vision.
Okay, so he found his people.
He found his people.
And GM helped them kind of turn that vision into a concrete plan.
Right through that real estate pathway.
Yeah.
They developed a business plan.
Okay.
Secured funding through GM's investor network. And launched this incredible network of eco-friendly lodging and experiences.
It's like a whole ecosystem.
Yeah, it's become this model for sustainable tourism in his region, creating jobs, boosting the local economy.
That's what I love about these stories.
Yeah.
It's not just about personal success, it's about that ripple effect.
Absolutely.
The positive impact on the community.
It's about making a difference.
Yeah, but John's story is just one example.
Right.
What other gems can we find in GAEM Changers?
Well, there's Mina's story in the Concierge Connection,
Okay.
and this one highlights how versatile GAM can be.
Okay.
She had this small concierge service,
hmm
but she wanted to offer more to her clients.
So instead of just like booking restaurants and travel, she wanted to create like a whole suite of services.
Exactly, like a one-stop shop for all your needs.
Yeah.
And GMEM helped her do that.
Okay.
Her cluster included a personal shopper, a wellness coach, a home organizer.
Wow. So she really expanded her offering.
But she did.
And they were able to actually make that work.
They used those keystones we talked about,
Right.
the marketplace, the AI assistant,
Yeah.
to streamline their operations and reach a wider audience.
So she went from like a solopreneur to like a real powerhouse.
Yeah, she leveled up her business.
That's incredible. These stories really paint a picture of what's possible.
They do. And what's amazing is that it's not limited to a specific industry.
Right.
You see real estate service businesses, tech startups, social impact initiatives, all thriving within this GAE ecosystem.
So any field, really, as long as you have that vision and the drive.
And the right team.
Yeah.
That's key.
But what are some of the common threads? You've listened to a lot of these episodes.
I have.
What are some of the things that these successful GAEM ventures have in common?
Well, one thing that keeps coming up is the power of collaboration.
Okay.
Time and time again, you hear these entrepreneurs talking about the importance of having that supportive team.
Right.
People who challenge them, inspire them.
That collective intelligence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
But collaboration alone isn't enough, right?
No, it's not.
So what role do GAEM's resources play in these successes?
A huge role. They provide the roadmap, the tools, the guidance, the connections.
Yeah.
That can make all the difference.
So it's like they're providing the infrastructure for success.
Yeah, they're setting the stage, but it's up to the entrepreneurs to perform.
Okay. So it's that balance, right?
Right.
Between that organic collaboration and that structured support.
Exactly. And GAEM Changers really captures that balance.
Yeah.
It's not just about promoting GAEM, it's about showcasing the human side of it.
Well, I think that's what makes it so compelling.
I agree.
It's not just a sales pitch, it's real stories.
Real people, real challenges, real triumphs.
And real inspiration.
Absolutely.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have?
And, I have to say, I'm leaving this conversation feeling really inspired.
That's great to hear.
It's just refreshing to see a model that not only promotes individual success, but also emphasizes collaboration and community and positive impact.
Yeah, it's a win-win.
So for our listeners who are intrigued by all of this,
Mm-hmm.
what's the best way to learn more and maybe even start their own GEM journey?
We'll definitely check out their website
Yeah,
and listen to GAEM Changers.
of course.
But beyond that, I would encourage them to connect with people who are already part of the network.
Oh, yeah.
Attend an event.
Yeah.
Reach out to a cluster leader. Start a conversation online.
Get involved.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You'll be amazed by how welcoming and supportive the community is.
that's a great point. It's one thing to read about it.
Yeah.
It's another to actually experience it.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into GAM,
Yeah.
I want to leave our listeners with a challenge.
Okay.
If you could assemble your dream team,
Mhm.
your cluster of 5,
Yeah.
who share your passion,
Mm-hmm.
complement your skills,
Yeah.
what kind of world-changing venture would you create? Let that question simmer. And who knows, maybe your GAEM journey is just beginning.
It could be.
The future of entrepreneurship is here,
It is.
and it's waiting for you to join the GAEM.
So what are you waiting for, Andy?